the operator, the central office, and the entire telephone company. All on the basis of the way they're treated and the sounds they hear over their receivers. That is why, from its very beginnings, the founders of the company realized the operator's key importance. At first, because the telephone was considered just another form of the telegraph, boys and young men who had proved so satisfactory as telegraphers were employed as switchboard operators. Of course, the equipment was primitive, and the work required much energy and endurance. But, as both the public and the company immediately realized, also required were a great deal of tact and understanding, qualities not always characteristic of the less gentle sex. So naturally, the gentler sex was turned to, and fortunately for all, they supplied the ideal solution.
There, just as you said, no trick at all.
It's amazing.
Nonsense. Any woman could do as well.
By being their own natural, gracious selves, girls and women succeeded in turning telephoning from a troublesome necessity into a pleasant service. In short order, as telephones spread throughout the country, improvements were made in the equipment and in the service. The voice of the telephone company became the voice with a smile. To give full credit where it is due, we must admit that if these pioneer women had failed to win public admiration for their cheerful, willing, helpful service, our jobs would not have the opportunities and security we take for granted today. Is it any wonder, then, that a tradition developed of placing equal importance upon both the mechanics of completing calls through the board and the manner of dealing with customers in a friendly, courteous spirit? Especially since operators quickly realized that courtesy actually made their own work easier and far more pleasant.
Operator?
For Pete's sake, operator, what's the matter? I was talking to Denver and you cut me off.
I'm sorry, sir. I'll try and get Mr. Thompson back for you in Denver. One moment, please.
What's the idea of cutting me off in the first place?
Well, your line is still connected here, but I'm trying to get them for you right now.
Oh, thanks. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Well, here's your party, sir. I'm sorry you had that trouble.
Oh, that's all right. Thank you, operator, thanks.
Thank you, sir.
Of course, not every customer who started out by trying to eat the operator up finished by eating out of her hand. But one soft answer did turn away so much wrath that the operator discovered new popularity when she realized that her voice was her real self. And she carried into her social life these same traits of naturalness, sincerity, and warm friendliness. But an attractive personality means more than being the life of the party. It makes all living more enjoyable, including the adjustments so necessary to getting along in the world. Yet it is true, many a girl who appears quite charming in person may, for one reason or another, make an unpleasant impression on her customers.
He isn't there. He's gone home.
Shall I try to get in there?
If it isn't too much trouble.
It isn't.
Oh, that's good. I'd hate to bother you. Oh, these operators.
Now, what went wrong? If that customer could have seen this operator, she'd have realized that the girl was simply doing her job. The explanation, of course, is that the operator is handicapped by being invisible. The customer hears only a disembodied voice coming from the receiver.
His phone doesn't answer.
Consequently, the customer judges the operator in the same way the operator forms a mental picture of the customer, on the basis of what she hears.
Operator, I've been trying to get my home, Lincoln 26352 for the last hour, and it's always busy.
I'll try it for you. One moment, please. Verify Lincoln 2, 6352. Busy.
Lincoln 2, 6352. Busy.
Right. I'm sorry. I verified Lincoln 2, 6352, and the line is busy.
Well, I gotta get them before I leave.
I'll be glad to keep trying and call you.
Oh, that's fine. Thanks a lot, operator.
You're welcome.
His voice revealed his personality, and her attitude of friendly sincerity, her spirit of sympathy and helpfulness, changed his annoyance to gratitude, thereby making her work easier and more pleasant. It is this spirit of courtesy expressed in every movement they make, every word they say, that enables operators to overcome the handicap of being invisible. No matter how busy the switchboard or whatever the personal feelings of the operator, the public expects and is entitled to her alert, willing help. And necessarily so, since many calls are urgent, of vital importance, filled with all the anxiety and significance of life itself.
Washington, please. I'd like to locate Eugene Kennedy.
I'd like to locate Dr.
I want to send a telegram with
Hey,
Mr.
John,
Smith.
it's good to hear. Mother, I'm
Trusted to transmit such messages, the operators dealing with customers requires the tact and patience of a nurse. Imagine, for instance, the feelings of an anxious father if a nurse were so bored with her job that she yawned when she showed him his first child. Similarly, an operator who approaches her work in a mechanical, routine spirit is sure to create an unfavorable impression.
long distance.
Hello, operator. I want to call Manchester, Connecticut. 24217. I want to speak to Mr. Harold Seagrave.
Was that person to person?
It is? Hello, operator. Operator.
Operator.
I want to...
What was that number?
24217.
That's in Manchester?
Yes, Manchester.
In what state?
I said Connecticut. Where'd you think?
One moment, please. I'll try to get them.
I'll bet you will.
I have your party.
Yes, she got the call through, but her inattentiveness made the experience unpleasant for both herself and the customer. The value of a courteous, considerate attitude is clearly shown by the kind of friendly service an airline stewardess extends to her passengers. Of course, she has the advantage of being able to express her personality with her eyes and smile, as well as through her voice and actions, while the operator's spirit can be conveyed only by what she says, how she says it, and what she does. Because her customers are invisible, she may unintentionally do things she'd never dream of if she served them face to face. For instance, here she is cutting out a customer while putting through his call. She'd never do that as an airline stewardess, for it would mean that while a passenger talked to her, she'd vanish. Again, though she might interrupt a customer at the board and so prevent him from talking,
I'm calling Detroit. My number is...
Who do you wish to speak to in Detroit?
as a stewardess, she'd never think of cutting him off by placing her hand over his mouth. Not seeing her telephone customer, she might, during a peak load, tend to rush him instead of his call. But she'd certainly never hurry a passenger's answers by snapping her fingers in his face. When she ignores a customer's question, she's doing exactly the same thing as turning her back upon a passenger who's talking to her. Being inattentive to a signal is just as irritating to the customer as a stewardess who makes a passenger ring for her several times. It takes only a second to realize that an information operator is in the same position of giving helpful directions as the stewardess who, for example, politely and cheerfully directs a passenger in getting from airport to railroad station. She is courteously helpful because that's how people naturally act in personal dealings with one another. Yet, though the operator may be invisible to the customer, her switchboard manners are quite real to him, and he reacts just the same to bad manners on the telephone as he does to bad manners anywhere else. Of equal importance with what an operator does, the public considers what she says and how she says it. She can make as pleasant an impression over the wire as she does in person. As long as she is natural, friendly, courteous, her voice will give the customer a picture of her as attractive as her photograph. By using her voice to give that kind of impression at all times, she efficiently handles both routine and unusual calls.
No answer, eh?
No, they seem to be out.
Funny, I thought they'd be there now.
Oh, it's 5:45 in Cleveland. Perhaps they're gone for the day.
Say, I forgot about that. Thanks, operator. I'll call them tomorrow.
Shall I try the call for you in the morning, Mr. Rogers?
Why, yes. Try it about 9:30, will you?
Yes, I'd be glad to.
Thanks, operator.
No wonder she pleased him. Her spirit was helpful, her manner courteous, her voice natural and friendly. She has a right to feel that she can please any customer at any time, even though she realizes that every customer may be many persons in one, sometimes friendly, other times irritable, joking or sarcastic, depending upon his mood of the moment. Customers are privileged to reveal their moods in their voices, but the operator must smile with her voice. Otherwise, that voice may tell tales about her, since unseen sounds have the power to create false impressions. Remember,
Well, you can't get away with it. We're going to have a showdown right now. Out you go or else.
just as the voices alone of these operators gave us a real but false impression of what was happening, so the voice of the operator conveys a very real but not necessarily true picture to the customer. For example, a monotonous voice.
They don't expect Mr. Holmes until 4 o'clock this afternoon. Will you talk with anyone else?
Or an operator who speaks too quickly,
Would you please hang up and call the number again?
too loud,
I'm sorry you were kept waiting. We are ready with Los Angeles.
too soft,
I'm sorry, the line is busy. I'll call you in a few minutes.
or choppy and staccato.
I'm sorry, I cannot help you. Will you speak to my supervisor? I will connect you.
But if the voice is natural, friendly, cheerful, confident, sincere, and helpful,
I'm sorry. I don't find a telephone listed for that name. Could it be listed under any other name?
finally, in addition to her spirit toward her work, her actions at the board in completing calls, her manner in dealing with customers, and the way in which she speaks to them, the public judges operators on the basis of what they say. To help them say the right thing at the right time, to prevent them from having to grope for words, selected phrases have been set up to serve as guides for such everyday transactions as answering a signal,
Number, please.
acknowledging the number,
Thank you.
reporting on a call,
The line is busy.
correcting difficulties,
I'm sorry. I'll try it again.
obtaining information,
May I have your number, please?
or referring a call.
Shall I connect you with my supervisor?
Used appropriately, the phrases can save an operator time and trouble. Used mechanically or thoughtlessly, however, they may do more harm than good. Saying a correct phrase at the wrong time may be worse than saying nothing at all.
Long distance.
This is 87619. My name is Dr. Henderson. I wish to call Butte, Montana, 21547. I want to speak to Dr. Philip Jordan.
All right.
They don't answer. I'll try to call again in about 20 minutes.
No, keep on ringing. He's probably busy.
Thank you.
Oh, what?
Dr. Jordan's office.
Dr. Philip Jordan, please. Springfield's calling.
Dr. Jordan left for Alaska this morning.
Do you expect him back today or tomorrow?
Operator, of course they don't expect him back. He's not traveling by rocket. Find out if his assistant is in.
Thank you.
For crying out loud, stop thanking me.
Every phrase she used was in the book. Only under the circumstances, she used the wrong ones.
Long distance.
I want you should be giving me the Pittsburgh Phillipsville.
Whom are you calling?
The Pittsburgh Phillipsville.
I'm sorry, I didn't catch that name. Could you spell it?
Spell it. It's the Pittsburgh Phillipsville.
One moment, please. I'll connect you with my supervisor. This is position 2205. I can't understand this man.
Okay, put him on. This is the supervisor, Miss Malcolm. May I help you?
I want the Pimsonville in Pimsonville.
Is that in Phoenixville?
Sure, Phoenixville. The Pimsonville.
What kind of factory?
The pins like the dirty suit you used to get to pair.
One moment, please. I'll have the operator connect you with the Phoenixville Pants Factory.
Such friendly service, offered in a helpful spirit, with consideration to how the call is handled, how the operator acts, what she says, and how she says it, all that is what the public for long years has come to think of as the voice with a smile. This tradition of courtesy comes to life every time an operator answers a signal, introducing her to a new person in a new situation. That is her opportunity to impress customers with her sincere interest and desire to please, to win their admiration and increase her own enjoyment of her work. If each time every operator speaks into her transmitter, she is careful of what she does and says, as well as how she says it, her telltale voice will tell her listening public only one tale. That's the kind of girl I like to talk to.
$10 to 15 years service, full pay for 13 weeks, and half pay for 39 weeks, and so on in regular steps until after 25 years of service, an employee receives full pay for a full year. A minimum of 2 years service is also required for death benefits resulting from sickness or off-the-job accidents. 2, but less than 3 years of service, provides qualified dependents as defined under the plan with a maximum of 4 months' wages. Each successive year of service adds another month's wages, up to 10 years of service. They're meant to provide some income to dependents during a period of readjustment. Certain death benefits are also provided for qualified dependents of retired employees. There is no minimum service requirement for on-the-job accident death benefits. Certain qualified dependent relatives, such as a wife or minor children, will receive 3 years' wages with a limit of $10,000, or the maximum sickness death benefits, whichever amount is greater. If there are no such beneficiaries, payments may be made to other qualified dependents not to exceed these maximum amounts. These benefits are of interest to all, young and old alike. Anytime you'd like to talk it over, you'll find your supervisor will be glad to be helpful.
One of the most important features of the plan is the service pension. And this is also of interest not only to older employees, but to many young people, men and women who have just started their careers with the telephone company. They, like yourself, want to know what the benefit plan has to offer when thoughts turn to that little workshop in the basement. How nice it would be to spend full time at the old hobby. Men in the company 60 years or older, and women 55 or older, with 20 years of service, may retire whenever they wish. Take the example of a man I know.
Well, Joe, another week and I'll be looking for a new lunch partner.
Yep. After Monday, it'll be lunch at home every day for me. You know, Chief, I'll be feeling kind of sorry for you.
Don't you feel sorry for me. I'll give you 3 days and I'll bet you'll wish you were back.
That's what gets me, darn it all. I'm going to miss all this. Even you a little bit.
Well, that's easy. How about sticking around for a couple of years?
Fred. I'm getting along. 63 last month. 35 years with the company. Mary and I want to take it easy and do a little traveling while we're still young enough to enjoy ourselves. Any way you look at it, it's high time a young fella took over. Besides, time for me to go fishing.
A pension plan is good business. It makes provision for employees, men and women, with reasonably long service who, because of ill health or old age, are no longer able to meet the requirements of their jobs, and thus provides an opportunity for advancement for people like yourself. You know, all employees of the telephone company must retire at the age of 65. Bell System pensions average about 1/3 salary income.
That usually isn't enough to live on, is it?
Actually, it's not intended to be. It isn't the purpose of a service pension to provide the sole source of income on retirement. A pension is meant to provide a certain basic amount and to assist an employee in his own individual thrift. Remember, too, the company pays the whole freight. Last year, Bell System companies put well over $100 million into pension funds. Once in the fund, that money can never be used for any other purpose. I guarantee that your pension will be there, good times or bad. But let's see how much 1/3 salary income would turn out to be in a typical case.
Oh, Mary and I'll do okay. My best 10 salary years were the last ones. I averaged about $4,000 a year. I've got 35 years service, 1% for each year. That means a pension of $1,400 a year, or a little over $100 a month. With what I've got saved up, it works out fine.
It's a matter of ordinary thrift precautions to add to this amount and have a comfortable retirement income.
How do you mean?
Well, for instance,
I'll be out in the yard.
Oh, don't plant anything along the border, John. I want that space for early tulips.
I thought it was going to be my garden. I worked 35 years just for a chance to get in some full-time gardening, and now you tell me the border is going to be tulips. Supposing I don't like tulips.
All right, dear. Have it your own way. Only you should have told me that 35 years ago. Oh, it's wonderful having you home. You've been retired a month now, and I still keep expecting that vacation to end.
Well, it's not going to. We're very nicely fixed for life. The house is paid for, and the children have families of their own. Insurance policies are paid up. So, how about a toast to laziness? Or perhaps we ought to drink to the health and prosperity of a self-made man.
Self-made man? It's a lucky thing I made you put part of your salary into the company savings plan and buy that stock when you could get it at reduced rates.
Yes, but who was it that bought the war and savings bonds? A toast to you, my dear. I probably wouldn't have saved a nickel without you.
Somewhere in the benefit plan booklet, it tells about deductions from pensions because of Social Security. How does that work?
Well, Social Security pension benefits come from a pension fund established by the government. The cost of the benefit being borne in equal parts by the employee and his company. Now, this means that Bell System companies are paying additional money into another pension fund when they've already established their own pension plan, which is considered extremely reasonable and compares favorably with pensions provided by other companies. Now, unless some adjustment is made, we would be paying twice for something when payment number one has already placed our pension plan among the leaders in industry. Good management of a pension plan must consider the employees, the stockholders who put up the money to run the business, and the customers who pay the bill. Look, let me show you how it works. Let's say that an employee retires at the age of 63 and that he then gets from the company $120 a month. Now, this amount remains unchanged until he reaches 65, when he starts to receive his Social Security benefits. Now, let's say that this sum, exclusive of government payments to dependents, amounts to $40 a month. Half of this was paid for by the company and half by the employee. This benefit is paid directly to the employee by the government. So, in order to deduct the amount provided for in the Social Security fund at company expense, an equal sum is deducted from the company pension. The retired employee gets the actual amount of $120 provided at company expense, as he did before. In addition, he gets the $20 a month resulting from his tax payments into Social Security while an active employee. This Social Security deduction is provided for under nearly all other plans, but in many instances, the whole amount is deducted. Anything else?
One more question. I think you said something about, well, it's here in this booklet, facts about the benefit plan. That the Bell System plan is one of the best in the industry. How do they figure that? How does it rank so high?
To make a fair comparison between plans, you must consider all of their provisions. Now, you'll find many plans that may be outstanding in some ways, but if you look closely, you'll find that they don't compare favorably to our plan in other respects. But don't just take my word for it. Here's a study of almost 300 plans made by another organization. You'll find in there some very interesting facts on what pension plans cost the employee. About half of the plans require the employee to pay a percentage of his wages. It may vary from 2% on the first $3,000 up to 5% on all wages above $3,000. It may amount to as much as half the cost of the pension. Our plan costs the employee nothing. In many companies, an employee cannot participate in the plan until he's reached a certain age or has a certain length of service. Some companies have both age and service requirements. Now, I have a chart here based on that study. 144 plans, or almost 50%, have both an age limit and a service requirement. 101 have a service requirement. 7 have an age limit, and only 37 plans, or 13%, like our plan, have no restrictions. Limitations like these cut down the service that can be credited toward a pension. Besides that, some companies, in fact 3 out of every 10, pay pensions only to salaried employees or to those who earn more than $3,000 a year. Under our plan, service counts toward your pension from the day you begin work, and all wage levels are covered. Here's another important thing, the age when you must retire. Like most other plans, our plan requires that men and women retire at the age of 65. But here's where the Bell System plan differs from most of the others. Our men can retire at 60, and the women at 55 if they wish, after 20 years of service. In fact, the average retirement age for men in the Bell System is 62 years, and for women, 57 years. Now, some companies make no provision for early retirement. Most other companies which do reduce the pension a certain amount for each year of early retirement. At 62, you'd get about 20% less pension, and women at 57 would get much less than that. But in our plan, there's no reduction for early retirement. And here's another thing. Our plan includes a pension for employees who may become disabled after 15 years of service.
Well, from what you've told me, we stack up pretty well on all the points you've covered. But how can you actually compare one plan with another? I mean in an overall way.
Well, the only way you can do that and have it mean anything is to take a typical case and figure what the employee's actual retirement income, consisting of a company pension plus Social Security, would be for various amounts of average annual pay under each plan. Does that give you the overall comparison?
Yes, it does. We rate pretty high, don't we?
We sure do. The Bell System plan, with all its provisions for benefits and pensions, has done much to help telephone people meet the misfortunes that may happen to any one of us. On-the-job accidents, off-the-job accidents or sickness, death due to sickness or an off-the-job accident, death from an accident on the job. And the pension plan is making it possible each year for more and more telephone men and women to enjoy the things they have always wanted to do during their active lives. Sarah Mitchell, continuing her years of service in the community. Joe Tazzoli, turning his hobby into a profitable business. Connie Myers, now a teacher by popular demand. Jerry Parker, miracle worker to the younger generation. Of course, there are many details of the plan we haven't covered, but there's plenty of literature on it. This pamphlet covers all the provisions of the plan for employees' benefits and pensions. It was designed for you, and it's to your benefit to know all the details.
But more important than the details of any plan is the philosophy behind that plan. Throughout the Bell System, there is ample evidence of a constant striving for improvement, a continuous search for new and better means of communication, a search resulting in thousands of improvements that have made America a better place in which to live. This forward-looking philosophy is the same philosophy that originated the benefit plan for the protection of the Bell System team. It gives us confidence that as this plan has been kept among the foremost in industry through the years, it will continue to fulfill its purpose in the years ahead.